Hello and welcome to the Tech and Sports Podcast. Tech and Sports is a show about how technology is revolutionizing all the major sports, as well as health and fitness. You can find it on your podcast service of choice. My name is Alex Radu, and I'm here with the phenomenal Mandy Kovacs.
What up, Alex?
This podcast?
Really?
Yes, apparently. Unfortunately, no Paulo this week, as he is out in Las Vegas for an Amazon conference. So today, we'll be exploring a topic that the two of us have been really excited about for a long time.
So excited.
Really excited.
Oh my god.
So we'll be building the cyborg athlete and everything that kind of entails. It's just going to be like the entry-level topic into like many more topics to
We
come.
saw Justice League and we got really excited about Cyborg. I think that's what sparked it. I don't know. At least for me.
Yeah, sure.
Superheroes, you know.
Anyways, so plus we have all the sports tech news from the last week. But before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. As always, we would really appreciate it if you would review and rate the Tech and Sports Podcast on iTunes and Google Play and wherever else you get your podcasts. It really does help us grow the show. And a new item, do you have a topic that you'd like to see us explore? Did we miss a news story you think we should cover? Or do you have impossibly hard trivia that we can answer? Just email us at techandsports@itwc.ca and we will be sure to incorporate it onto the podcast. Mandy, where can they email us?
Tech and Sports Podcast at itwc.ca.
No, Tech and Sports at itwc.ca.
I mess this up every single time.
One day you will get it.
One day. I don't even remember my own email, so in fairness to me.
Such a millennial.
Hey.
All right, and with that, sit back and relax, because two of your third stringers are entering the game. So, Mandy, off with the news.
All right, yeah, so first in the news today is kind of a follow-up to our helmet discussion last week. Avisis is a high-tech helmet maker based in Seattle that's gotten millions of dollars in funding, most notably from Seattle's Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. And now, for the first time, the company will be outfitting the entire roster of Notre Dame's football program. They'll be using the Visis 01 helmet, which received the highest safety marks in an NFL and NFLPA study, and it has a multi-layer design that works to absorb impact and redirect and spread out forces to the head. So pretty cool advancement there. And in similar news, we've talked about SyncThink's 60-second eye tracking technology for evaluating concussions and how teams from the NBA and NFL are getting on board. And now the entire Pac-12 conference of the NCAA is on board as well. So the Division I conference announced that all 12 member schools will be receiving the technology by January, and that the University of Colorado Boulder will be the Pac-12 Center for Data Collection and all administrative work. The university is going to lead research to create baseline and post-injury testing practices for student athletes across all sports using the SyncThink technology. And so, I mean, with most sports getting more serious about concussions, to me, this is a good move, and I'm sure we'll see the rest of the NCAA follow suit. Alex?
Yeah, I think it's just super interesting that it's all of these colleges that are really going, or universities as well, that are really pushing all of this technology forward. Considering you don't often, this is a problem in college sports as well.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Concussions are no less of an issue in college football than they are in the NFL, or in the OHL compared to the NHL, AHL, etc. But it's just kind of interesting. I always just I just can't wait until all these major sports leagues get on board, and I'm hoping that if Notre Dame, which is a big school, they have a lot of clout and a lot of fans, if it really shows that this worked and this did something, then it would be great if the Seattle Seahawks all adopted it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, in the NFL, there's been a couple players, like Russell Wilson has been wearing this helmet for the last couple months now. But, it's just like a couple players, right? And it's not a whole team. So to actually have a whole NFL team get on board with this would be amazing.
And he needs it because he gets sacked a lot.
Yes, he does. All right, and in health and fitness news, Apple has a record-breaking third quarter, and it propelled them back onto the top of the wearables market. I think, Alex, you have more on this?
Yeah, so what I found really interesting with this is that last year, I remember at the end of 2017, I was kind of predicting that watches, like wearables, smartwatches, they would really take off this year, and they kind of didn't.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, but this, the last quarter, which would be July, August, and September, was really, really great, even though overall sales were down, but it's a very promising quarter. But so basically, the Canalys wearable brand go-to-market analysis report states that Apple now controls nearly a quarter of the wearable market at 23%. Apple reported 3.9 million shipments in the third quarter, which has pushed them ahead of Chinese wearable maker Xiaomi, who had 3.6 million, and Fitbit, who's at the third spot with 3.5 million. So it's clear that the Apple Watch Series 3, which saw a whole bunch of new health and fitness upgrades, is making a splash as the first LTE-capable smartwatch when it released this September. Canalys estimates that 800,000 Apple Watch units shipped in Q3 were cellular-enabled, which is pretty impressive considering it released in the last month of the quarter, and I think it only had a few weeks on the market.
Wow.
So another interesting fact is that these combined three equals 64% of the entire global market when it comes to wearables. Fourth and fifth place are Huawei and Samsung at 6 and just 5% respectively, and that's really just a splash in the bucket. Every other wearable maker combined equals about the remaining 20%-ish. So moving forward, it looks like we can expect a really strong holiday season, with Fitbit truly getting now into the smartwatch market with the Ionic that I know Mandy has been testing out.
Yeah, I love
and been using, and also this new Apple Watch that people really seem to like. It looks like right now wearables are finally starting to get to the point where they can do more than just having the app on your phone.
Right.
At least when it comes to health and fitness.
Yeah, I think that's definitely helped them a lot, adding more capabilities for them.
Yeah, especially when you consider like just the fact that they now have cellular capabilities, so like you wouldn't have to, like, I always hate running when I have my phone on me.
Yeah, me too.
Especially because I have such a large phone now.
That's ginormous.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's a pain to run with. So if you could just have a smartwatch that is cellular enabled, so if I did get a call that was important, I could answer it.
Yeah.
Or something like that, that would be fantastic. Or if like you could like connect it over Bluetooth to music and stuff like that, like that's a total game changer. And I think that's really where we're going to see all these smartwatches and
Yeah, exactly. Now that they have cellular capabilities, like I find I use my cell phone even less because I get notifications on my watch and I can see if it's important or not.
Yeah.
So I can ignore my phone for most of the time if I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. And so next, after this being the most high-tech World Series ever between two of the most analytics-focused teams, the Seattle Mariners are now getting in on the action. The team has hired a director of high performance that's not only a tech guru, wow, that's a tough word to say, guru with degrees in medicine and statistical methods, but she's also a woman, which is pretty great. Lorena Martin will be joining the MLB team this offseason after spending a year as the director of sports performance analytics with the LA Lakers. And with the Mariners, she'll be in charge of all aspects of physical and mental training and work alongside all the coaches, trainers, and medical staff.
Yeah, I really look at the mental aspect of this because I think that's a really underrated part of just looking at athletes. And we have all these statistics for their physical performance and all that sort of stuff, but we don't really see any statistics on their mental health. Right. Which, as you know, we keep learning, mental health is a huge and important issue just in society as large. So I'd like to see sports really keep track of that more. And I'm kind of very curious to see what technology inevitably comes out for tracking mental health when it comes to athletes and individuals like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And in high-tech product news, there's a new wearable being developed by Qubit that can detect the direction of a quarterback and where they're looking and give feedback on how they can better improve their game. The device looks like a headband that's worn above the eyebrows, and it aims to train the eyes of a quarterback so that they can avoid the sometimes unconscious decisions they make, like looking at the receiver they're going to throw to and stuff like that. Qubit says that they've developed this because with modern football increasingly becoming a short passing game, even little things like where the quarterback is looking can be an advantage for the other team in terms of knowing who to block. So this device measures head positioning based on a horizontal axis, which is then broken into 4 quadrants to determine if the player is looking far left, left of center, right of center, or far right. This then allows coaches to talk about plays and strategies from their playbook and tell their quarterbacks the perfect head positioning so that they can train and get real-time feedback and hopefully practice not giving away any information on the field in a real game scenario.
Yeah, I really like all this technology that's coming out that's really adjusting athletes' muscle memory.
Yes.
We saw this with basketball with trying to get like the perfect arc.
Oh yeah.
For shooting and how like you would get instant feedback and so like you would know if your arm was positioned off. So it's kind of like this is really similar and it's really going to be cool how muscle memory is then perfected almost.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. I almost feel like this is a little bit nitpicky. But again, like any advantage is an advantage, I guess. If some company actually wants to build this and some NFL teams want to get on board, why not?
I mean, hey, it worked in the NBA. Like the WNBA, the Minnesota Lynx, who just won the championship, they preach it. And so, I mean, hey.
It's working.
Fixing that muscle memory is huge to just correct the little things, the mechanics, so to speak.
Yeah, there we go. And now for some fun news. Dwayne Wade recently launched his own show on the Facebook Watch platform. It's a new 5-episode docuseries following Wade's life during the offseason before he began playing for the Cavs. And it launched on Monday, and you can find all the episodes on the Backcourt Wade Show page on Facebook. You can watch him travel to Paris and Milan for the different fashion weeks. You can watch him caring for his dog, and some insight into his business ventures as well, like his Wade wine label. And in other show news, really quick, Golden State Warriors player JaVale McGee has also launched a YouTube series called Parking Lot Chronicles that's offered on his teammate Kevin Durant's YouTube channel. And the series features him in the parking lot of Oracle Arena interviewing a range of different people, from his teammates like Durant and Klay Thompson to musicians like E40 and random fans. And there are no scheduled dates for when these episodes go up, but the conversations are generally candid and filmed after games, so I would highly recommend checking it all the time.
Yeah, so both of those, it's just a further example of how KD, Wade, now KD got JaVale involved as well, how NBA players are killing social media, and it's an entirely new avenue for just marketing opportunities, because you look at KD's channel, and I watched like a 10-minute video yesterday on it.
He was laughing the entire time.
Yeah, where we're like, well, just it was like KD just literally was looking at highlights of high school players and commenting on them, and you don't see that in other sports. You don't see like Sidney Crosby commenting on like 15-year-old hockey players that like scoring goals and how they actually look and what their future could be and stuff like that.
That's true.
And Katie started this with his YouTube channel last year. He did a mini documentary that ended up being about an hour or 38 minutes, something like that, similar to kind of what Wade is doing now. And it shows a huge insight because they're now more than just athletes, they're celebrities. They're all, like, you look at, so many of them are into fashion, so many of them are into just different, especially all the ones on Golden State, they all have so many business ventures.
It's true.
They invest in so many things, and this is a really cool opportunity because they're putting themselves out there, and it gives other companies a better chance to, like, KD is, like, at the end of that highlights video, he just had an ad that I guess someone paid him to say. He's just like, check out this thing.
That's awesome.
And that's the problem. Like, that's a totally new avenue. It's direct, like, athlete to just audience promotion. So this is something really cool that companies really should take advantage.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk all the time about how NBA stars are so much better at marketing themselves. So I guess this is just another example of how they're excelling. And our last story of the day, the Detroit Lions are the first NFL team to add Apple's indoor positioning technology to its fan engagement app. People will now be able to use the app to find directions to their seats or locate bathrooms, food and drink, and merchandise vendors within the Ford Field Stadium. The groundwork for this tech was installed during the stadium's $100 million off-season renovations, and the features are available officially after this weekend of American Thanksgiving. So there we go. You can find your way around a giant stadium now, in case you couldn't before.
All right, and with that, it's time for our discussion. But before we get into that, I just wanted to bring it back to the top of the show really quick. So if you have any topics you'd like to see us discuss, or any news stories you think are worthwhile that we might have missed, or even have impossibly hard trivia that we don't do when Paulo's not here.
Because we don't get it.
Yeah, well, because we don't know all this trivia.
No,
so
we don't know anything. We're millennials.
Well, okay, don't sell us too short. I have gotten it once.
Yeah, but you cheated.
I didn't? Okay.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth. Anyways, please email us at techandsports@itwc.ca, and we'll be sure to incorporate it in the show. Mandy, you got it this time.
Yeah, techandsports@itwc.ca.
Good job.
Holla!
Well done.
Fourth time's the charm.
All right, so on to the discussion. Today we are building the cyborg athlete. We always talk about technology that would help players win at sports. But what about technology that could rebuild their bodies and make them stronger than ever before? So that's why today I'm going to focus on rebuilding Derrick Rose, the former MVP of the NBA, who has had one of the most tragic careers in recent memory.
Yeah, poor dude.
In any sport. So I just want to take a quick journey right here. Derrick Rose came into the league as a huge prospect from the University of Memphis in the 2008-2009 season, so less than 10 years ago, where he became Rookie of the Year, and in just his third season, he led the Chicago Bulls to the league's best record and became the youngest MVP in NBA history at the age of 22. He truly was on his way to making the Bulls a dominant force for the first time since Michael Jordan was on the team. And then it kind of just went all downhill from there. The next season, in the first game of the playoffs, he tore his ACL in his left knee. He missed the entire next season, and when he returned in 2013, he then tore his right knee meniscus in November. It required surgery, so he missed the rest of that season. He has then been injury-prone ever since, having not played more than 66 games in a season since his MVP run. There's a whole lot to the Derrick Rose story that I won't go into here now. But now he has left his team, the Cavs, after a recent ankle injury, citing that he is deciding the future of his career. And sources have told ESPN that all injuries he has had have taken a serious mental toll on him. And I really would not be shocked if we never see Derrick Rose on the basketball court again. He's only 29 years old, too, which makes this kind of really sad.
That's so tragic.
The best analogy I have, and that I've given non-basketball fans, or especially here in Toronto, is that imagine if Austin Matthews wins the Hart Trophy, or, he's the MVP of the NHL in, 2 seasons from now, or next season, really.
Yeah.
And then he has an injury that really just destroys his career, and he never is the same again. It would destroy Toronto.
It would absolutely destroy this city. You know how Vancouver rioted after losing the 2010 playoff series? Yeah, that would be Toronto.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to try and rebuild Derrick Rose.
All right, what do you got?
It starts with Kevlar cartilage.
Ooh.
So this is really interesting, not only because knee injuries are so prevalent and career-destroying in all of sports, but because I've also torn my ACL, so I have some personal experience with knee injuries. So the problem with knee injuries, specifically when it comes to cartilage, is that so far nothing has been able to replicate the real cartilage that you're born with. Mm. Doctors haven't been able to replicate the unparalleled liquid strength of cartilage, which is apparently 80% water that can withstand what we put our bodies through on a daily basis. The problem with current synthetic materials being used is that they cannot mimic the physical properties of cartilage and don't contain enough water to transport the nutrients that cells need to thrive. So researchers at the University of Michigan are trying to solve that problem by mixing nanofibers of Kevlar, which we know as the material for making bulletproof vests that is 5 times stronger than steel, with a common hydrogel cartilage replacement called polyvinyl alcohol.
Wow.
This means that the Kevlar cartilage can absorb water at rest exactly how real cartilage does. So it is allowed to become extremely resistant to abuse. Mm-hmm. It then would release that water that it's built up when it's under stress, when you're jogging or at the gym or playing a sport, whatever. So currently this method is seeking investors to make it a practical reality. So this may be a bit off, but if it works in practice as well as it has in testing, this could really revolutionize knee injuries.
Yeah.
But the implications for this type of technology go even further than just knees, ankles, wrists, any part of the human body that suffers from joints or muscle injuries. This could decrease recovery time and prevent athletes from career-ending injuries. Personally, I can't wait for my own knees to be infused with Kevlar because they are not great.
You'd be bionic. That'd be awesome.
And so it's a little different. It's a little simpler, I guess, or not as sci-fi as, imbuing athletes with, sensors and,
crazy wearables.
Imagine that, wearable headband for quarterbacks if that was just, embedded in their brain or something like that.
That'd be wild.
That would be wild, but this is a little more of a realistic, medical kind of avenue to take to that look. And so this could just revolutionize knee injuries. And it could, imagine if Derrick Rose was rebuilt with Kevlar, maybe his career would turn out to be totally different.
That's fair. And I mean, kind of along those lines, I was doing some research, and there's actually been a couple companies making headlines over the last few years because they've made what basically amounts to an Iron Man suit, but in real life. So SRI International developed a powered suit to improve the endurance and strength in soldiers that provides core support to a wearer's torso, hips, and legs, and is basically a wearable exoskeleton that gives you superhuman strength. One military company, Raytheon, claims that theirs could give users up to 17 times more strength for both lifting and pushing. which is kind of crazy. And another company doing research with MIT says that theirs is bulletproof and is going to be testing this stuff with Navy SEALs and U.S. Special Forces in 2018. And then so SRI actually launched a spin-off company where this product could be developed for more average consumers like the elderly. And the idea has been so good that they received almost $10 million in funding, and the product is supposed to be released in mid-2018. So I know that you probably never see an actual Iron Man suit in sports, but the concept is cool, and just like the Kevlar, it could totally be transitioned into smaller pieces, like a knee brace, for example. I don't know if athletes could actually use that to play. They could use it to play while they're injured, or it could help them recover from faster, or faster from injuries, or even protect them from injuries in the first place.
Yeah, it's totally, you totally have to look at the cyborg athlete concept in like a medical sense.
Yeah.
Because the reality is you're never probably going to allow bionic parts on athletes in professional sports.
No.
But you totally could throughout recovery time, before games, like any time that's not a game, like those types of braces, maybe like knee braces, ankle braces, wrist braces, back braces.
Yeah, for real. And then, one more note on the tech side, too. Apparently, researchers at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in the U.S. have developed robotic muscle. They made a breakthrough with a material called vanadium dioxide, which has the ability to change size, shape, and structure when heated. And they built a torso motor, which kind of works like a human muscle, except it's faster and more powerful. So, it obviously needs to be researched and tested a little bit more, but just like the Kevlar, and just like the superhuman suit, it's the exact same thing, right? Like, if you could actually build that into athletes, they would be indestructible. It'd be crazy.
It totally would just change it. Like you look at LeBron. I think LeBron is probably the best example of like one of the healthiest athletes that's ever existed. Mm-hmm. And we all know he spends like millions of dollars a year on his body. But if this all became something that every athlete did, and like injuries became so much less of a thing, the sports would just be so much better.
Yeah. It would be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
You'd never have to worry about your players or your team getting injured, like your Anaheim Ducks, who most of them are injured.
Yes.
Imagine if some of them had Kevlar knees. You wouldn't have to worry about this season.
I think the Ducks need like just entire Kevlar bodies.
Maybe just, full body, bulletproof, like, uniforms or something, yeah.
Maybe we could get Getzlaf a hair implant as well.
Ooh, shots fired.
I love the guy. But yeah, no, so this is, I think, a really interesting topic, and we're going to be exploring this a lot more. So it's just, there's a lot going on in the realm of rebuilding athletes' bodies.
Yeah.
And the medical science behind it, the technology that's infused with it. It's really interesting, so be sure to stay tuned.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring up one more point too, because we've looked at all this tech and how it can improve people and how fascinating that is. But what if you could do that before someone's even born? There's been talks about gene editing for decades now. We all know about the designer babies and that whole conversation and whatnot. But like this could actually happen, and it could actually have huge impacts in the sports world. Because a team of Chinese researchers made headlines this summer when they announced they had successfully edited DNA in the nucleus of human embryos. And overlooking the ethical implications of that. That's an astounding scientific achievement. That's crazy.
So basically they're going to breed the perfect athletes.
Yeah, because we already have the ability to choose the sex of unborn babies, but this would actually allow people to avoid passing on undesired genes like certain diseases, and from a sports perspective, actually design babies with specific traits. And what are the first few that you think of? Like probably taller, well maybe not you, taller, you're tall enough, but like to be smarter, to have better athletic abilities, better eyesight, all of which could help someone excel at a sport.
Reflexes.
And we wouldn't even know that was built into a human, because it would be way before they ever reached an athletic performance where they would be making news.
Okay. Yeah, well, it looks like we're going to have to keep an eye on China for the 2040-something Olympics.
Yeah. Because, so many companies have even offered this already, too. Like, a few years ago, an American clinic was actually offering services allowing couples to select special physical traits to incorporate into their baby's genes, although they got a lot of backlash and that was canceled. But even the genetics biotech company 23andMe, which we've all probably seen advertising about gene testing on TV before, they were granted a patent in 2013 for a product that would allow would-be parents to select a donor and scroll through hypothetical children that would result from using that donor's DNA. So it specifically mentions that couples could look for muscle performance and reflexes, and I mean other things like lactose tolerance, but whatever. But I mean, it opens the possibility of actually allowing these would-be parents to ask for a donor that would most likely result in a taller or a faster child than them. And a 2009 study from the New York University School of Medicine found that at least 10% of parents would approve of genetic testings to ensure that their child was more athletic. And 5 years later, in 2014, more than 26% of parents now would approve of altering the DNA of their children for smarter, healthier, and more athletic offspring. So, like, this could happen. People are kind of, like, on board for this.
I'm trying to think now if I would be on board.
I don't know.
And it's interesting because I'm not sure about, like, what if, like, this means that they, like, fall apart when they're 40?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's true. The longevity. Would it actually work? We don't know.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't want to be, like, a beta tester on this.
No, I would not.
But, hey, if it's proven to work, I have read many dystopian novels that talk about this very subject.
Yeah, for real.
And the implications of it.
Yeah.
So.
And like it's kind of snuck up on us, but the World Anti-Doping Agency last month actually expanded their 2003 ban on gene doping to include all forms of gene editing. I don't really know how that they would actually be able to enforce that. Like at Rio, the Rio Olympics, they were testing blood samples from athletes for a hormone that can boost red blood cell levels, which increases recovery time. But I mean, like actual gene tweaking wouldn't show up in blood tests. So I don't know how that they could possibly monitor this.
Maybe that would be able to monitor like gene tweaking or whatever when you're actually already alive and not just like a tiny little embryo. in
a womb, or I guess a petri dish, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. Crazy topic though. I mean, so many things could potentially improve athletes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, well, that's it for today's episode. I just want to say thanks to everyone and to all of our new listeners. I mean, we see you and we love you, and we would also like to hear from you. Any feedback is great. If you have any topic suggestions, again, or questions for us, it's all welcome. You can get us on Twitter. I am at Mandy V. Kovacs, and
I'm at Alex T. Radu.
Yeah, and again, you can email us at techandsports@itwc.ca.
Yes, techandsports
Nailed it.
at itwc.ca.
Woo! Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.